You know, and this is Satanists tell this directly, that when people are involved in serious sin, they smell spiritually. And demons sense that smell, that odor.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, blessed art thou, Lord.
Thanks for tuning in to Armor of God again, and thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time to be here with us, so hopefully all of you will be learning a lot from this compilation as well. Now recently I experimented with this approach, listing out the topics discussed, and one of you suggested that I should stick with this approach. So as you can see, there are quite a number of clips that I want to share here with you, and we're starting with the first one on the list, the paranormal investigators.
You know, and you run into these, for example, you run into these paranormal investigating groups. I had a case of a man who was experiencing phenomenon in his home, and he called me in a number of times. He kept hearing his voice in his house. We couldn't pinpoint it. We couldn't figure out exactly what it was coming from. And one day I was coming out the door and I heard the voice myself. And I turned to him and I said, I heard her. I know what you're talking about. What we have to determine now is this a soul from purgatory asking for help, or is this a demon pretending to be a soul? Well, the poor gentleman, instead of being patient, what he did was he called in one of these paranormal investigating groups. They came in, they set up their cameras and their, video equipment. They set up all the stuff, and all hell broke loose in that house. And he couldn't understand why. And I said to him, because you opened an open invitation to hell. He said, come on in, we want to record you, we want to video you, So you gave them the invitation to come in. And that's why they did. You can't do that. You just can't do that. That's where the danger is.
And the next one is the one where demons try to lead people to commit suicide.
See, demons can never take over your will. That's the one thing, your will is free and you have to make the ultimate choices. But what demons will do is they will obsess you to a point where a person wants to commit suicide. And I've had one case where we did lose a woman to suicide, and another case in which the young woman decided that she couldn't take it anymore, that she was just had enough. She decided that she was going to kill herself. She went to hang herself on a tree in the back of her house. As she was heading to the door, she noticed a statue of St. Michael the Archangel on a table next to the door. And something told her to pick it up and take it with her, which she did. She put it on the ground next to the tree, put the noose around her neck. And just at that moment, her mother was walking past the window, saw her, scream bloody murder, as you can imagine. And wouldn't you know, at that very moment, a police officer was going by, heard the scream, came running in and saved the girl's life. So needless to say, this young woman went through a real conversion process that is doing beautifully today, beautifully. But that was a real interesting case. And I have a case, it's not my case, it's a case that I assist with, of a young man who had made a pact with the devil to have multiple sexual conquests, which he did, right? And we've gone through several serious rituals with him. And he said to me not too long ago, he said, in essence, what it comes down to is he wants to really be rid of this demon inside of him, but he's not sure that he's really sorry for what he did. And that's what happens a lot of times. People want to get rid of the influence, but they want to hold on to the effect.
The following clip will be a clip of Father John, how when one is involved in serious sin, they smell spiritually and demons can sense that smell. It's an interesting one, so please listen to this.
How many of you heard the story about St. Teresa the Little Flower, where people would smell roses if they would pray to her, and they would sometimes have the scent of roses, and it was a sign for them that St. Teresa was going to answer their prayer? How many of you have ever heard that story? You know, and this is Satanists tell this directly, that when people are involved in serious sin, they smell spiritually. And demons sense that smell, that odor. Just like we say in Catholicism, there's an odor of sanctification, that as people get holier and holier, there's like an aura, there's a presence that they give up. Satanists tell us, because they talk to demons a lot, that the demons can tell in a room a person whose soul is seriously affected by mortal sin. They hover around them because they smell good to them. They want to hang with them because they know, oh, I don't need to do a lot more. He's already in our camp. I just to give more opportunities to sin, and I'll lead them farther down the road toward us. One of the most powerful things you can do, or if you know somebody that you really believe may seriously have some form of possession, oppression, is help them go make a good confession. Because what are they doing? They're saying to God, God, I messed up. I'm sorry. Would you lift this from me? Every exorcist that's ever done always begins with the person who's going to be prayed over. You go to confession. There's going to be a priest right in the next room. You go to confession. After you go to confession, you come into the room and we will pray over you. Because when we choose to do sin, if we don't ask God to forgive us, it's still with us. We chose it. Free will. That's part of the free will problem. If we choose good, the good accrues to us. If we choose bad, evil accrues to us. So how do we go and say, okay, I want to get rid of this? I've helped a number of people just get better spiritually by just telling them, go to confession.
And here's a clip of Monsignor Stephen Rossetti, and someone asked him a very interesting question.
Okay, so someone says, something is scratching the kids at night. We had a Catholic deacon come and do a deliverance on the home, but it's still there. Well, that's a problem of discernment. First of all, is that demonic? Okay, that's the first question. Is it demonic? There are certain kinds of scratches and bruises and things which would tend to be more demonic. And then if it is demonic, the second question is, why? Why are demons? That's our second question. Why are the demons there? What is the open door to them? And then what you do is you close it. You simply do some deliverance praying and keep doing it until it's over. But a good thing to do before you go to bed, which I do, last night I sprinkled my room with holy water and say a little prayer for prayers of the bedroom at night. If you think it's demonic, close whatever portals are there and then continue with deliverance praying.
And here's another clip of Father John Szada where he talked about one of his cases before involving children, a bunch of students in a Catholic school where these kids attempted to curse one of their classmates.
We've investigated some cases of children maybe as young as 12, but determined that they weren't really possessed. So there were other issues that were going on here. But usually when they're younger than that, there are other kinds of issues that are not really possessed. Although just recently, I had a call about several 7th and 8th grade students at one of the local Catholic elementary schools who were caught by one of their teachers doing some witchcraft in the corner of their schoolyard, where they were planning to cast a spell against one of their classmates. And so, needless to say, the teacher confiscated their material, which means that these kids knew what they were doing. They were prepared for what it was that they were planning to do. So needless to say, I have to go to that school to talk to these parents and children and the whole business. So unfortunately, these kids are at a younger and younger age opening themselves up to these influences because it's so much a part of the culture we live in.
And we are all familiar with the ones about Jesus casting out the demons in the Bible. And here's the explanation provided by Father Joseph Iannuzzi, why exactly it was so easy for Jesus to cast the evil spirits out.
Legion is a lot of demons, and they have to be extracted, sometimes one by one, sometimes several in clusters. But at the time of Christ, each legion constituted 4,200 men. That's how much a legion was. And remember when Jesus asked, "What is your name?" The demons responded, "We are legion because we are many." That is over 4,000 demons in one person. Now, I bring that up because the Lord talks about how when a person wants to obtain purity, they have to know how to offer up their mortifications, their sufferings that yield compassion. And this compassion brings about purity, and that this is something that is acquired through repetition. The measure the soul acquires compassion is the measure in which it offers up mortifications and sufferings, and as a result, it acquires the grace of purity. And the soul that operates with a pure intention allows Jesus to operate in it with his own virtues. And therefore Jesus said that. That is why the soul does not need to expend any effort in converting souls. The soul that is pure need not expend any effort in converting souls. So when Jesus approached this spirit that was very difficult to expel, that the apostles could not expel, he expended no effort. It happened immediately. Why? Because Jesus was the master at offering up his mortifications and sufferings. He was the master of compassion, both of which yielded purity. And that purity expends no effort in converting a soul and even expelling demons. And this explains why, in part, some saints who were not even men were exorcists and got rid of demons immediately, like Catherine of Siena. She was known to have just prayed over a person and the demons would leave immediately because she was a pure virginal soul. So mortification and sufferings. Sufferings can be imposed on us without our consent. Mortifications are taken upon ourselves, whether they're imposed by others or whether they're freely done by ourselves. The point is we willingly embrace them and offer them up. This in turn yields compassion. People that have no sensitivity toward the suffering of others. And there are a lot of people out there today that don't have God, that don't have hope, faith, love, and therefore they don't have compassion because they don't offer up their mortifications, their sufferings. And as a result, they become hardened of heart. So if a person is without compassion, it means they don't know how to offer up their mortifications to God. And Bishop Sheen was a great champion of encouraging people to do just that when he worked for the Propaganda Fide Institute. He would fly throughout the world to various countries, and the first place he said he would go, and he landed, would be the nursing homes, the hospitals. And he would tell the people who were suffering and dying, don't waste your suffering. It's of redemptive and salvific value. Offer it up to God. Don't waste it. How many people are cursing God, suffering in these hospitals, wasting their suffering, blaspheming, hating, because they had a poor plight in life and they don't see the will of God in it, so they curse God. And this compassion, the fruit of offering up of mortifications and sufferings, brings about purity of mind and body. And the soul that operates with a pure intention allows Jesus to operate within it with his own virtues and aids in the conversion of other souls. Jesus reveals, I greatly love pure souls, just as I am forced to flee from the impure. I am drawn by the pure as by a magnet to dwell in them. To pure souls I gladly lend my mouth to let them speak with my own tongue. And that is why they need not expend any effort in converting souls. This is important. Pure souls do not need to expend any effort in converting souls. With these pure souls, Jesus states, I delight not only in continuing my passion within them to perpetuate my work of redemption, but more importantly, I greatly delight in glorifying in them my own virtues. Now back to the soul, not expending any effort in converting souls. The soul that is pure does not need to expend effort in converting souls.
And we have just celebrated Easter, Christ's victory over death and sins. So in light of that, I would like to share this clip of Father Carlos Martins. Please listen to this.
We recall that moment when Magdalene arrived at the tomb with the other women and they found the tomb empty. And then the other women, they leave, presumably they leave because they don't appear in the story again. But Magdalene stays behind and weeps. And she's undergoing the grief because the body of the Lord is missing, and she assumes that it has been stolen. And so she sees somebody there that she mistakes for a gardener. And this is where things get really interesting. And in order to understand what happens there, we have to go back into Genesis when God creates man. He creates Adam and places Adam in the middle of the garden. The job of Adam, the job of his new creation, is to till and cultivate the earth. So God forms a covenant with Adam. Adam's vocation is to be a gardener. He is to till and cultivate the earth, subdue it. His job is to be a gardener. And in doing this, God makes Adam Lord of the earth. Right? Adam is the prince of the earth. So Adam is the only being in the garden created for its own sake. Right? Everything else in creation is created for the sake of Adam. And God delegates to Adam his own power of governance over creation. And he gives Adam just some remarkable tasks to do. It's Adam's job, for example, to name all of the animals. And it says God came close in order to hear what Adam would name those animals. So God put himself in the service of Adam. All right, so he received Adam's service. Now that's, I mean, if that's not a lofty vocation that Adam possesses, I don't know what is. That even God comes with anticipation and is hanging on the edge of Adam's lip to see what he would choose to call the animals. And whatever he chose to call them, that became their name, right? And then, of course, God takes from one of Adam's ribs, he creates Eve. And so mankind now consists, like the other animals, of two beings, a male and female. And all of the human family come from them. And of course, we know that when Adam ate the fruit, then paradise was no more. The covenant was made with Adam. It was not made with Eve. And this is why we call Adam's sin the sin of Adam. Eve's transgression of eating the fruit of the tree was a wrongful act, but it wasn't sinful. It didn't break the covenant. Adam's did, because the covenant had been made with Adam. So, and of course, then Adam is expelled from the garden, and he remains a gardener, because it says, by the sweat of your brow, the Genesis says, by the sweat of your brow shall you eat, and you will cultivate the earth, it will fight against you, and so forth, and life becomes difficult. We all know what that's like. At the moment that everything is darkest for Mary Magdalene, she sees somebody whom she mistakes for the gardener. And it was no mistake. It was Jesus. And isn't that ironic that he appears as a gardener? He was tilling and cultivating the earth, right? The new earth, a new creation. So the new Adam is very well aware of his vocation. He is to continue that work that was given to Adam. And now he continues it in a new age. It is an age where the earth is being recreated and all things are being made new. When I first realized that detail was there, that detail that we can just gloss over, the fact that the scriptures painstakingly produce a description of the vocation of the new Adam, that he's living it out, so much so that Magdalene in her grief doesn't recognize Jesus in the gardener, but simply sees him as a gardener, any old gardener. This is a fact so beautiful. The scriptures have so many examples of this where the details are so ingrained within it in a way that's so beautiful that to me these serve as proof of the truths of the Christian faith, because no human mind could have thought of this, right? Human minds, even we are capable of creating great works of art, great works of literature, but so often what we create is banal, stupid, and ugly. And the fact that these details are there and continue to reveal themselves is an act of just profound glory. And it is there for the taking, there for the receiving.
And so that is all for this time. For all of you who are still here, listening and watching, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I hope all of you have learned a lot from compilations like this one. And remember, if ever you have any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, Thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.
So what am I seeing now, even among psychologists today, about the use of, hallucinogenics as a way of quote unquote achieving religious experience, using mushrooms and using all kinds of, psychedelic drugs in order to achieve some kind of higher experience. It's why also I talk about, traditionally the things that people fall into most, for example, alcoholism or the use of other drugs or even sexual experiences, right? And we become addicted to those. These are, temporary, fleeting, transcendent experiences, right? There's something in our nature that needs the transcendence. And when we don't find it in God, we're going to look for it in artificial means, but they bring us down to slavery.